JCF is short for Jugando con Fuerza, which is Spanish for playing with force, but it is also a play on words because my character's name is Fuerza, so I am playing with Fuerza. After helping develop the Battle Royale concept for games like Arma and H1Z1, Brendan Green, known by his alias PlayerUnknown, was hired as a creative developer at Bluehole to realize his vision for the genre in his game PlayerUnknown's Battleground, which exploded into and is still currently considered the defining game of the genre, even though later Fortnite used free-to-play concepts to surpass it in size and income. Today I'm going to give you 151 tips and tricks for PUBG. When you first sign up, you will be given the chance to choose a name and customize a character. A lot of players will tell you that the female character has a smaller hitbox and therefore gives you a tactical advantage, but the developers of the game have clarified that even though the girl character is smaller than the guy, the hitboxes are identical. Upon hearing this, some players will still push back, saying that there might be a tactical advantage in choosing a girl because she is smaller and therefore harder to see. But since 99% of finding someone has to do with noise and camouflage levels, which are also identical between genders, these claims are at best insignificant. After choosing your character, you will be brought to the menu screen. Before getting started, I recommend clicking on the settings button here to customize a few things. On the basic tab, enabling aim assist lets the game move the crosshairs for you a little bit, which I personally like, but it is not always helpful because enemies don't always move in the direction the game anticipates, which in those instances it can actually throw you off. Using the release option on these different firing modes gives you more precision when firing, but it also takes a while to get used to it, so I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're an advanced player. I strongly recommend enabling peek and fire even if you're a new player because this is something you want to get good at eventually, but I wouldn't recommend selecting the hold to lean unless you're an advanced player. I keep all the other settings in this tab on their default, but it is important to note that auto open doors can cause you to accidentally open a door at the wrong time, alerting nearby enemies to your location. In the graphics tab, setting the style to colorful will increase contrast and make it easier to see other players, and selecting a high frame rate will give your reaction time a slight advantage. This makes graphics the least important setting in this tab, so adjust it based on what your phone can handle. Since I'm using a Samsung Galaxy S7, which is becoming an older phone, I keep my graphics on the lowest possible setting, and I keep all the other settings on default. In the controls tab, I recommend clicking the customize button and adjusting your peek and fire buttons to be a little bit closer so you don't have to extend your thumb so far. I also recommend reducing the distance of the sprint button just a little bit and moving all of these buttons here on the right just a little bit closer to each other. Those are my favorite settings, but ultimately you need to find what works best for you. If you want to experiment with something, I recommend first trying it out in a new layout so that you can revert back to your old customized settings if you don't like it. You'll notice in my third layout that I have my shooting buttons at the top of my screen. It's because I bought these cool little trigger things for $3 online from some company in China. I'm still getting the hang of them, but once I figure them out, I think having those 2 extra fingers will be a game changer. So if you want to try them, I put links to where to buy them in the description. I recommend disabling auto pickup because once you know what you're doing, it usually slows you down or crowds up your inventory. I keep all the settings on the other tabs at their default, but after you've been playing for a while, you might want to browse through them to see if you want to adjust anything. Now that we've talked about settings, let me touch briefly on the menu screen. You can customize all your game settings here, including perspective, server, modes, maps, teams, etc. Whatever you set here will be remembered and you will use those settings every time you click start. You can add friends by clicking on this button and then selecting the Add Friend tab and then typing your friend's name or character ID in this search bar. You can then invite those friends into your party using this button, but if you don't have any friends, the game will automatically select teammates for you. Joining a clan is a great way to find friends, and forming a crew makes it easy to find your closest friends quickly. After you've played a few games, I recommend spending some time in the armory. The armory lets you see the stats on every single gun in the game and how that gun interacts with the various mods you can find for it. This is incredibly helpful for knowing which gun you want to keep on the battlefield. If you're a free-to-play gamer, there are only 2 parts of the shop that apply to you. The first one is the Soldier Crate. It can be bought for battle points, which you get from logging in and playing the game. Missions for getting these points are either reset daily or weekly on Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is also when the Soldier Crate price resets. The second one is the Redeem section. These items can be bought with the tokens you get for dismantling clothing killing duplicates. If you are not a free-to-play player, the best way to support the devs is to buy one of these Elite Season Passes, because they offer more rewards per dollar than any other offer. All of these other tabs are either not important at all, or you will see a red dot when they do become important. So when you have everything set up the way you want it, click Start. If you're playing on a team, the most important thing you can do is communicate with your teammates. In addition to an in-game chat system, PUBG has implemented several ways to help a team communicate and work together. The first way is accessible by clicking on the mini-map. This will pull up a bigger map. By clicking anywhere on this map, it will automatically set a marker that you and your teammates can see. This is helpful for a lot of reasons, but the most common thing this is used for is telling your teammates where you want to go. You can also click on this tab here, which allows you to follow a teammate or invite them to follow you. This makes it really easy for your team to end up in the same place and reduces your chance of miscommunication. Lastly, if you do not want to use the voice chat, you can click the dialogue button here, which gives you a ton of communication options. Some of these options have further meaning based on what you were pointing at when you use them. The weapons and vehicles on the map are randomized each time you play, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to where you got something, because certain places are more likely to give better weapons than others. If you get really familiar with an area, you will have a huge upper hand on someone that is just wandering around aimlessly. As a general rule, these areas have more and better loot, but most players know that, so they tend to be more heavily sought after. If you are playing a solo game, I strongly recommend avoiding these places if they are close to where the plane enters the map. All of the players are on the exact same plane as you, and most players have a tendency to exit the plane earlier. You can see which players have exited the plane by this number right here. If you are a confident player, I recommend finding one of these good locations that is off the path and marking it on your map. The maximum distance you can travel after jumping out of the plane is around 1500 meters. Some players will tell you that you can extend this distance by opening up your parachute early or slowing down your movement speed, but this is not true for PUBG Mobile, and using this approach just delays how fast you get weapons. If you are a less confident player, I recommend doing the same thing with one of these smaller groups of buildings that is off the path. There's no inertia in the game, so as soon as you jump off the plane, you can travel the opposite way of the plane just as far as if you were going with it. But I don't recommend doing that because other players that got off the plane earlier will get to the same destination faster than you, which means they will probably have guns by the time you land. As I mentioned earlier, the items are randomized, but if you find a location that has a lot of great stuff, it will probably have a lot of great stuff every time you go there. So if you're pretty new to the game, I recommend going to the same place as much as you can to get really familiar with it, which will give you a huge advantage over other players that aren't as familiar with that area. After the plane leaves the island, a safe zone will appear. It will be a circle covering about a third of the island, and a timer will start with 5 minutes. When this timer runs out, a radiation zone will start closing in on that circle. The radiation zone wall moves slower or faster based on how far it is to the closest edge of the new circle. This means that if you are far away from the circle, the radiation zone travels significantly faster than you can run. The process of the radiation zone shrinking the first time also takes exactly 5 minutes. At this point, a new safe zone appears, and the process repeats itself for a total of 9 phases. Here are the main stats on each of these phases. For those of you who have been playing for a while, these numbers may not seem that important, but now that you know them, you will be surprised how often this knowledge will affect your decisions. Knowing details about what is going on around you in a game can often increase confidence and reduce indecisiveness. In the beginning, you don't have to worry that much about the radiation zone because it only does 0.4 damage per second, but this damage increases each round, so by the time you get to the end of the game, the radiation zone does 11 damage per second, which makes it incredibly important to be in the safe zone. For those of you who are used to playing Rules of Survival where you can spend the first half of the game in the radiation zone, you will find this much more difficult to do in PUBG. As soon as you land, find a gun with ammo as quickly as possible. People can tell when you don't have a gun and they will chase you mercilessly until you are dead. Once you have a gun, I recommend searching for a rifle and ammo. SMGs are a much better option than they were in Rules of Survival, but having a rifle as one of your weapons is still really important. Learn what your average bullet per kill ratio is, and then unless you have a really nice backpack, stop gathering ammo after you have enough to kill 8 people. I promise that by the time you've killed those 8 people, you will have found more ammo. If you see the shooting icon, don't assume they're shooting at you, but look around to see if you can find them. If you see them and they don't see you, don't attack them unless it's an easy kill. Long battles attract a lot of attention and should be avoided. Stay near buildings so that if you start taking damage and you don't see them, you can just run around a corner to buy you some time and set up if they chase you. Now, if you're you're still in bronze, most of the players you will be fighting are AI players, which are really easy to kill. Do not let this easy competition make you develop bad habits. Try to always fight from a position where you have cover, and if you don't have cover, try to get in the habit of moving while you shoot so that you do not become an easy target. Even if the player you're shooting does not see you, start moving within 2 seconds after first firing your gun. Because if you shoot at someone while you are not in cover, it will likely attract the attention of someone else nearby, and standing in the middle of a field will get you killed really quickly. So get in the habit of moving while you shoot every time you engage when you don't have cover to hide behind. If you're playing a team game, the most important thing you can do in the very earliest stage is stay close enough to your teammates so that you can support each other while you're looking for items. If you are playing competitively, then you should have a good team. And if you have a good team, then you should live or die as a team. Playing 3 versus 4 in a competitive game is stupid, especially because it's so easy to avoid. You also want to be on the lookout for good armor, helmets, and backpacks. Level 3 items are the best in the game, but they are also rare. Level 2 items are attainable, but don't spend too much time trying to get all level 2 pieces. You can see what level your gear is from how many bars are here. Once you have some decent gear, you have several options on what to do next. PUBG is a multifaceted game. You get points for killing people, doing damage, getting supplies, surviving the longest, and even get points for taking damage and then healing yourself. This gives you lots of options on how to play this game. If you want to know the 4 main strategies for how people play PUBG, I recommend checking out my video that lays out the pros and cons of all 4 of them. The only tactic that I don't mention in that video is the car rampage tactic. Using a car as your weapon is very effective. So much so that there are some players that are able to win solo games without ever shooting a gun. That tactic is a great option, as is all the tactics I mentioned in that video. And if you're going for points, you should do whichever one best fits your strengths as a player. But in this video, I'm going to be focusing on how to get first place. PUBG is not just a shooter game. It can be fun to play it that way, and you still get lots of points doing it, but if you want to get first place often, you have to get out of that mentality. PUBG is also a survival game. Shooting a gun attracts attention, and attention is a great way to die. If I see someone and they don't see me, but I'm not in a good enough position to kill them and take on someone else that hears me kill them, I just let them go. In fact, if I'm really playing competitive, like I'm trying to get first place every time, I often just watch people for most of the game and only kill when I really have a good read on where everyone is at. The best place to hide is in tall grass on high ground near a rock or tree. For those of you who saw my rules of survival video, my tactic where I hide in one of these little sheds with a shotgun is not nearly as effective in PUBG because it's not as easy to one-shot someone, so I seldom use this tactic when I'm playing PUBG. I still love using shotguns, and I see a lot of pros use them in urban combat, but I don't use the shed tactic. Now, when you're part of a team, there's no reason to hide because a well-positioned team that works well together can kill dozens of players without ever receiving a single casualty. The team simply has to make sure that they position themselves in a place that they can fight in any direction with little to moderate repositioning. They also need to make sure that they are close enough to each other that they can revive downed enemies without being exposed. The team that works well together under those conditions is almost invincible. A solo person, however, is not, especially in PUBG. A lot of players are really good with a Kar 98, so drawing too much attention can be the end even if you're a really good player. If you are pushing hard for the first place position, I recommend using one of these 2 tactics. If you find that you are already in the new safe zone when it appears, I recommend staying in your hiding place for as long as you can. Look around to see where people are, but don't kill anyone unless you are confident that you can kill them within 2 seconds of first firing your gun. Loot them if they're close, but be super wary of other enemies since you just fired your gun. Even firing a gun with a suppressor will still alert enemies if they are close enough. In a team game, if you shoot someone and they die without getting knocked down first, then that means that all of their teammates are already dead. But if they get knocked down first instead of dying, that means that at least one of their teammates is still alive, and the guy you just knocked down can communicate your position to his teammates even after you kill him. So you want to kill him as soon as possible so his teammates don't revive him, but you also want to be cautious when it happens and stick close to your teammates. It is incredibly hard for someone to see you when you are crawling in the grass if you are on high ground. But if you are on lower ground than them, high grass is almost worthless. If you're on high ground and stay still, people should not be able to see you unless you are within 7 meters or closer. If you find yourself outside of the new safe zone when it appears, I recommend waiting as long as possible. You can run from cover to to cover if you're careful to look around while you do it, but I recommend giving other players a chance to get to the safe zone first. This might seem like horrible advice because a lot of players talk about killing people as they run to the safe zone, but once you try it a couple times, you will notice that happens rarely. In PUBG, most players die when an enemy notices them first. That enemy then fires at them when they are in bad position, and they have very little chance of winning the fight. By letting other players go first, you will find that you often see other players before they see you. In fact, most of them will never see you because their back is turned to you most of the time as they run to safety. Usually by the end, everyone is crawling around in a field and behind cover, and it is very hard to see them. If you are part of a team and there are no buildings in the safe zone, I recommend spreading out about 4 to 8 meters from each other. This makes you close enough to support each other, but far enough away that enemies will probably only see one of you at a time. If you're playing solo, stay hidden as long as possible. Remember, this tutorial is about getting first place, so ideally you only have to kill one person to win. But the closer you get to the end, the harder it is to not run into someone. When you see someone get close, kill them while you still have the advantage of shooting first, then slowly crawl away from your kill while looking around, because the loot box is noticeable from a distance and your enemies will likely be looking for you to loot your kill. When you're down to the last two, the safe zone is usually pretty small by now. I'm not very good at throwing grenades, so I've usually saved up about 5 or more grenades at this point. If you see the other guy but they're in cover, chunk all of your grenades at them. Remember to wait a second or two before throwing it so they don't have as much time to run away, but obviously don't wait 3 seconds or you will be giving them an easy win. If in the more likely scenario you do not see them but the safe zone is very small, I recommend throwing one of your grenades at every tree and rock that is in the safe zone. This is kind of a controversial tactic because if they're close enough they can hear you pull the pin on your grenade, and if they are watching they will either see you or the grenade in the air, which will let them get an idea for where you're at. And I agree with those objections in theory, but in practice I find that this tactic almost always works out to your favor because the grenades usually get people to come out of their cover or reveal where they are, and I only do this when I have a really good position. So in my experience it either works or they weren't in cover because they were crawling on the grass, and it doesn't seem to have an effect either way. So I recommend trying it out for yourself and see if you can land the first place spot. In addition to those 99 tips and tricks, I have 52 more for you. There seems to be a lot of confusion even among advanced players on how boost items work. I hear a lot of people say that energy drinks give you movement speed but painkillers do not. That is not true. Energy items do not give you any benefits in and of themselves. Rather, they give you points towards your boost meter, and your boost meter gives you benefits. It's important to think this way because if you don't, you will get confused. There are very advanced websites out there that say things like energy drinks will restore 23% of your health. That is not true. If you use an energy drink well, it can heal up to 52% of your health. Here's how the boost system works. When you use a boost item, it gives you a percentage of your boost meter, which diminishes over time. This meter consists of a total of 5 minutes. Energy drinks give you 40% of that meter, which is equal to 2 minutes. Painkillers will give you 60%, which is equal to 3 minutes. And the adrenaline syringe gives you 100%, which covers the whole 5 minutes. You get different benefits based on how much boost you have in your boost meter. So using an energy drink by itself actually only heals 22% of your health. But that is not the best way to use an energy drink. If you use a painkiller and then an energy drink, that same energy drink will heal 52% of your health and give you a movement speed bonus of either 2.5 or 6.2% based on which bar you are on. And then after 2 minutes, when your bar drops back down to 60%, you can use another energy drink to get another 52% of your health back and have another movement speed bonus. So that's how the boost system works in PUBG. If you want to know more about my strategy on how to maximize this system to your advantage, be sure to check out my video titled How to Get Double Healing from Energy Drinks. They just recently added the flare gun into the game. You need to aim towards the sky in order to use it. Using it outside the safe zone will spawn an armored vehicle, and using it inside the safe zone will spawn a special airdrop with twice the normal loot. The developers never actually added infrastructure to these towers, so you cannot land on them no matter how hard you try. But there is a way to use the lean function to get a little bit up this tower. While clearing a house or going around a corner, you can use your third-person camera to peek around the other side, which is an effective way to stay safe while scouting. While driving a vehicle, you can see its health and fuel bars shown here. You can also tell when one of your tires has been destroyed because the corresponding icon will turn red. Peek as much as you can, even when you're in a house, but remember that staying inside a house can sometimes become a death trap if you are up against a player who is skilled with grenades. While shooting through a window or any small hole, you will notice that you do not always shoot where your crosshairs are. Remember to leave more space below your aim so that you don't hit the wall in front of you while you are shooting. Short grass will actually disappear once you're more than 150 meters away from the grass, so don't try to hide in short grass. Zooming in doesn't just magnify, it allows you to see as if you were actually closer, so some players will appear that weren't previously visible. Unlike most other shooter games, PUBG has implemented a bullet drop for every gun, so remember to aim high when trying to shoot longer range shots, especially on guns that do not have a high range stat. This is again where the armory is particularly helpful. If you unequip all your weapons, you can run much faster. If you do this, your character will move 6.3 meters per second, so that's a good way to measure how long it will take you to reach the safe zone. If you're too far from the circle, try to look for a vehicle. You can usually find them along roads. You can use downed enemies as bait to get their teammates to come try to revive them, but make sure you kill them before they reach cover. I personally like to put all of my guns on single fire mode. I find that the extra headshots more than make up for the slow rate of fire. If the safe zone covers the outer sea, you can swim away from the shore and survive a really long time, but doing this will probably make it more difficult to get first place because you have to get back to shore before you can fire your gun. You can't heal beyond 75% health level except when you are using medkits, energy drinks, pills, or the adrenaline syringe. While the crossbow in PUBG looks awesome and it can one-shot an unarmored enemy even with a body shot, which can sometimes make it useful in the initial scramble, it is actually a terrible weapon. It has a long reloading time and you get one shot at a time. The only thing that's good about this weapon is that it makes absolutely no noise. Always choose a pan over other melee weapons, it has higher damage, and it can block bullets. I know this isn't a tip for doing better at the game, but I strongly recommend checking out the Viva La Dirt League YouTube channel. I'm pretty busy with work and family and I don't have time to watch a lot of YouTube channels, but I watch and like every single PUBG video these guys make and several of their other series. Just watch this one video from them, and then when you fall in love with them, remember that JCF was the one that sent you. Smoke grenades are useful for reviving a teammate or repositioning, but remember to throw them quite a bit in front of the area that you are trying to cover because they don't cover the area immediately near where they land. Always pay attention to your mini-map even when you're using a scope to see where your enemy is shooting from. Audio is really important in this game since a lot of noises like opening doors, looting, healing, pulling the pin on a grenade, a thrown grenade, and most footsteps do not give these notifications. If you are wanting to play competitively, I recommend using a good headset so that you not only hear those noises, but a good headset will help you identify where those noises are coming from. Make sure you have full health before getting into a fight, and using painkillers and boosts right before engaging an enemy is a great way to give yourself an advantage in a fight, especially at the end of the game when options are the most limited. Wearing darker clothes like a black shirt, black pants, etc. is best for the main map, Erangel, but they make you easier to spot in Miramar. Natural colors like yellow and gray are the best if you want to play on that map. Like I said earlier, I almost always put my weapons on single shot, but this is especially important if you're trying to shoot someone from really far away, because the recoil of the gun is magnified the further distance you shoot. When you're parachuting down, use the eye icon to see how many players and teams are dropping at the same place as you. After you kill someone, don't just stand there and loot their body. That's a great way to get sniped. Just grab what you can within 1 second and then get out. When you get shot at, never ever start crawling or crouching. This is a very common new mistake. Crouching and crawling is helpful for hiding behind cover and not getting noticed in the first place. They actually make you an easier target because they make you go slower. Always use the left fire button when using a scope because you will need your right thumb to aim. When you want to show your teammate where an enemy is at, just move your crosshair over the enemy and then click the enemy ahead dialog in the chat. Having scopes with higher magnification is always more useful than a lower one, but do not equip a 6x scope or higher on both of your items or it will severely weaken your close quarter combat. Moving silently in PUBG is a lot more difficult than Rules of Survival, so if you are playing a solo game, I don't recommend staying too long in buildings. Using the boost option for vehicles requires a lot more gas and creates more noise, so I don't recommend using it unless you are getting shot at or trying to outrun the radiation zone. When there are only 2 people in a car, sit on the same side so the driver can position the car as a shield in combat. While you're swimming, pay attention to your lung function. If it is turning red, that means the game is thinking that you are still submerged in water, even though your character looks looks like it's not. Pressing crouch will let you submerge into water, and jump will allow you to surface. If you're trying to get to the safe zone or escape an enemy fire by swimming, submerging is a great way to increase your safety. Bullets can penetrate water, but the damage is significantly reduced. You are also obviously harder to spot when you're underwater. And then lastly, if you're pretty new to the game, I recommend avoiding motorcycles because they can be pretty difficult to master, and it is much easier for other enemies to kill you. Well, that's it guys, hope that helps. Obviously compiling that was a lot of work, so please remember to like this video if you did in fact like this video. And if you liked it a lot, can you please share it on your Facebook and Discord groups so that more people can see it. JCF's a pretty new channel and it really helps me grow. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.